Know someone in your life celebrating a birthday? They deserve to feel truly celebrated. That's what 1-800-Flowers has helped people do for 50 years, turning everyday gestures into meaningful moments of connection. And this April, during their 50th birthday celebration event, when you buy one bouquet, get a second bouquet 50% off. Celebrate more birthdays with our 50th birthday event all April long at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. Buy one bouquet, get a second bouquet 50% off at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
We all know Sesame Street says, "Sunny days sweep the clouds away." But what happens when the sunny day is here to stay? Then we take a look at a unique business opportunity that could have you earning up to $1 a month. And then we take a look at a bizarre story involving a jump scare video. A short little clip that's supposed to scare you when something happens. But what happens when a group of children find a video that doesn't involve just the jump scare? Instead, the horror decides to jump out of the screen and into the real world. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. So first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give it up for Eric from the Mule Crew. Woohoo! Yeah! Eric doesn't want to be here. Eric, come on in here. He remembers the last episode the Mule Crew was on. I honestly think that episode I did last week, Dog Days and Nights, that might be, I think, the best episode of Dead Rabbit Radio ever. Honestly, I know, I see you shaking your head. It was gross. I'm not saying that it wasn't absolutely disgusting, but what a murder mystery. The Mule Crew was there for that, and now they're getting their singular shout-outs. Eric came out with the rest of the Mule Crew to see me speak live at the Oregon Ghost Conference, and that is why he is getting his shout-out. That is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon, through the merch store, you guys can't make it out to the live speaking events, that's totally fine. It really, really is. I want you to know it really is okay. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. And I see you guys doing that. We are climbing up the charts worldwide. We are one of the top shows in countries that have never appeared on the charts. We're doing huge numbers in Jordan right now, which is absolutely awesome. We're doing really big numbers in Qatar as well, all over the Middle East. So very, very, I see you guys promoting the show. I see you guys growing it organically, just telling your friends, your family that you really love Dead Rabbit Radio. And I see that result, and I see those results in the worldwide charts. How awesome is that? Eric, let's go ahead and get this party started. Oh, wait, but before we do that, Eric, this weekend, Dead Rabbit Radio movie weekend, Dead Rabbit Radio movie night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time if you're a Patreon member, paid or free Patreon member. Dead Rabbit Radio movie morning, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for everybody. Can see that. There'll be links in the show notes below so you can see how to join up watching those short films with us. It's always been a blast. Eric, let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to go ahead and toss you the new vehicle. Got a new vehicle. The Hair Hippity Hop is what I call it. It's just a pogo stick. It's an old busted pogo stick. I go, yeah, I wrote this off on my taxes a couple of years ago. I better use it. The IRS might come after me. For $6.99, everyone climb onto Eric's shoulders as he... What is this called again? What did I call it? A ping pong? What are those things called? A hopscotch? Pogo stick. Everyone climb on... I did yesterday's episode about that mad cow disease going around my town. Maybe I have it. Eric, let's go ahead and hippity hop out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way to the middle of nowhere. A boing. A boing. A boing. A boing. As we're headed out there, I gotta ask the ladies of Dead Rabbit Radio, the female members of the Fluffle, including some guys, they might have the answer to this as well. You'll shoot me an email or put it in the YouTube comments. I'm having an issue keeping my shower caps. I have to wear a shower cap now because I don't wash my hair every day. So I can keep the oil. That's disgusting, Jason. Listen, man, I'm telling you, I used to wash my hair every single day. Did you know you're not supposed to? Did you know you're not supposed to? You're not. My hair was always frizzy. I look like Yahoo Serious most of the time. My hair was always so frizzy. And I didn't like it. And that's constantly why I was shaving my head and giving myself mohawks, because my hair grows so fast I can't pay $80 every 3 weeks. But I don't want to, so I'd give myself mohawks or I'd shave my head because I didn't want to deal with frizzy hair. Then I stopped washing my hair every day. Now I wash it probably every 4 days or something like that. And it's fuller and it's more vibrant than ever before. But the problem is that, so now when I shower, we're very clear, I do take showers every day. But my shower caps, I wear shower caps and I don't know what to do with them after I'm done with the shower. I hang them up in the shower, that's cool. But the other 4 days I'm showering, if my shower cap fills up with water, I can put a goldfish in there and keep it alive. There's so much water in it. And then I gotta like dry it out and stuff like that. You can't put a wet shower cap on my head. It kind of defeats the purpose. So anyone who has any shower cap, I guess I could probably just ask Google, but I was just in the bathroom a minute ago and I looked at my shower cap. It had all this water in it. I just asked you guys. You guys are my Google. I trust you more than some search engine. How do you guys keep your shower caps dry? Is the question for the day. But that has nothing to do with anything else. I'm sure I'll get at least one YouTube comment giving me a tip. We're headed all the way out to the middle of nowhere. And actually, let's kind of give this a location. Let's say we're out in Mongolia. We hip-hopped all the way out to Mongolia, and we're standing there, and we're in a village. And this is modern times, but there's probably still people in villages out there. I don't know if they have chieftains still, but probably just the mayor. But the mayor of the village, he sees us and he goes, "Hey, guys, thanks for coming out. We need your help with something. You guys are like paranormal investigators, right?" And we're like, "Yeah, totally." And he goes, "So you gotta help me out with something. Some of the hunters in the group," I don't know why I'm making them seem like they're an Iron Age civilization. I'm sure the quote-unquote hunters just go to the grocery store like everybody else, but so they go, the mayor of the village goes, "Hey, can you guys check out something for me? I keep hearing these rumors from some of my people in town. There's a place out way beyond us, but a lot of times that's on the way to the Safeway, that's on the way to the Albertsons grocery store. I've been hearing reports of some weird paranormal-like disturbances out there. Would you guys mind going to check it out?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, we'll check it out. Do we get to ride your horses?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So we climb up on their beautiful horses. Eric just has to keep up with us. He's on the pogo stick. He's like, "Oh, come on, man. I pogoed all the way from America to Mongolia. Can I get on a horse?" Nope. You can get on a mule, though. We're riding out to the middle of nowhere, and by the time we get there, it's starting to get dark. The moon is starting to crest up over the horizon. That's when one of our local guides goes, "Oh, we're almost there. We're almost there. Right around the corner. You'll know it when you see it, because it's so weird." And we're like, "Oh, what is this?" So we continue on our horse journey, and sure enough, we come around this corner in the woods, and we're approaching this corner in the woods, and that's when we hear the sound of birds chirping. And I go, "That's weird. You don't normally hear birds like that at night." And that's when we hear some squirrels rolling their nuts in the ground. And I go, "Squirrels are definitely not a nighttime animal." I think. I don't know, actually. But anyways. And we're hearing a bunch of daytime animals. But at this point, it's like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. And that's when we see it. Right in the middle of the woods here. It's broad daylight. And we can cross the threshold of that. Like, we're on our horses in the shadows of night, and we can see where it's like perfectly well lit, like it's the middle of the day. And as our horses walk through that barrier, we're expecting some sort of magical sound or something like that, like we're crossing over dimensions and we're moving into another timeline. No. We are crossing from day to night in an instant. We're like, "What in the world is this?" And the guide's like, "I know, dude. I've been trying to tell the mayor something's wrong out here." And this isn't like just a meadow that's lit up. From where we can tell, it looks like 3 square miles of forest. It's bright as noon. And all of the daytime animals are out. But you notice the squirrels, yeah, they're playing with their nuts, but they're also looking super confused. They're like, And the birds up in the trees, these daytime birds that love to sing, you notice they're also kind of like a little sleepy. They're like rubbing their eyes with their feathers. They're like, oh man, I want to go to sleep, but it's daytime and I'm a daytime bird. Cheep, 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 cheep. The guide goes, yeah, it's super bizarre, isn't it? We noticed this a while back. It's just daylight here. We go, so it's always daylight? And he goes, no, that's weird as well. Sometimes it's not daylight. Like during the daytime, it's always daylight. But sometimes at night, it's nighttime, and sometimes at night, it's this. And then it's nighttime. The entire 3 square miles of forest fall as dark as the rest of this region in a heartbeat. So the guide asks us, do you have any idea what this is? Do you have any clue what could be causing this? This is a really interesting story. This is super interesting, and it's really real, and it has an answer for it. I don't know if this exact scenario ever took place. I'd be shocked if it didn't. And I definitely will be shocked if it doesn't happen in about 9 years. It'll be so common, it will just be something people know happens. Really interesting story. I love reading the news. I read it every day, mostly to make sure that zombies aren't attacking. I like to check the news before I walk out my house. I don't want to get devoured. Then also, I love just everything about the news. I love the world. I love reading about everything. I was reading the news the other day. There is a company called Reflect Orbital, a real company. And they requested, I didn't know this, the FCC, the Federal Communications, what does the FCC stand for? Federal Communications? I don't remember. But yes, I looked up everything except what FCC stood for, because I just thought I knew it off the top of my head. Anyways, it's a U.S. government organization. They're in charge of the airwaves. They're in charge, like whenever you do something bad on television, you say a cuss word, you get fined by the FCC. If it, channel like SNL gets constant fines from the FCC. They handle all of that stuff. They also handle satellite deployment because it includes communication between Earth and space. So they are in charge of that. If you want to launch a satellite, you have to go through the FCC. Recently, a company called Reflect Orbital sent their request to launch some satellites into space. It's really interesting when you think about what they're trying to do, but when you think about what could go wrong or how it could be abused, your brain just spirals out because you realize how bad this can get. What they want to do is launch mirrors into space. In 2026, if this gets approved by the FCC, they're going to launch 2 satellites that have these mirrors attached to them. Their goal is by the year 2035, they want to have 50,000 satellites in orbit that have mirrors attached to them. Why? So they can provide sunlight at any time during the day to any place on the planet. Their catchphrase, what they have on their website, is they can light up the world, quote, from full moon to full noon. So if you just want a little bit of extra light in an area, you can hire these guys, they'll reflect some sunlight down. You go, but why would you want this? Why would you want this? It's super interesting. I could totally see the practical uses of this. Reflect Orbital says, let's say that you want to recharge some solar panels all day, all night long. We can redirect sunlight directly onto those solar panels. Totally makes sense. They said construction. Right now, if you want to do construction during the night, you got to bring out a ton of lights. You got to use all of this energy to run these giant spotlights to turn your construction site into a safe place to work. And that requires a lot of time to set everything up, requires a lot of money, requires a lot of energy that could be used at other places on Earth. We're just going to reflect sunlight down there. You hire us, we can turn that high-rise construction site into daytime 24 hours a day. You could have different crews working on it at any point in time during the day, and it will be as well lit as it is lit when the sun's out. And you're not using any of that energy. You're not using any of that infrastructure, just hauling the lights out. You're using a ton of gas and oil, moving all of that lighting equipment out, and then let alone turning it on, connecting it to the local power grid. We are using the sun's energy. It is the most primal, most untapped energy source that we have available. We're just reflecting it down. Totally makes sense. Like, you think about it, you're like, that is a good idea. How many times, I mean, I don't see it much up here, but in California, you'd always be driving around at night. You drive past roadside construction, massive lighting networks, just so they can see and be safe. The workers need to be able to see what they're doing, but they also, it makes it safe for them. Disaster response was another thing they're selling this as. You need, an earthquake happens, buildings collapse, you got to bring all, because you're not going to stop digging for people because the sun goes down, you hear a guy tapping on a pipe, you're like, sorry buddy, it's a little too dark, we got to go. You got to bring all this lighting equipment out so you can continue the rescue operation, and you better hope that the infrastructure of that city that you're in has electricity in the area you need it. Reflect Orbital says that's not going to be a problem. We can literally turn night into day, and it's a 3 square. They said 3 miles wide, so yeah, 3 square. So actually, it'd be bigger than that'd almost be like 9 miles square, I think. Don't make me do math, but we light up the whole area. You'll be able to run rescue operations 24 hours a day. All of that stuff makes a ton of sense, and I 100% could see the benefit of all of those things. But talk about playing God. The sun is the most primal, untapped energy source we have. So much so that cultures around the world have considered the sun a god. Or, if they have a pantheon, the main god. And we're messing with that power. A true Prometheus moment. Because I could see us using that for a lot of good. All of those things you go, well, yeah, we could use it for that. We could use it for that. But we're messing with something that's an intrinsic part of human society. People are protesting this. It's a fascinating thing. I totally see the logic of it. I see how it could be done wrong, if it fell into the wrong hands especially. If you ever tested this technology, it would seem like our Mongolian example. You wouldn't tell anyone what you were doing, just parts of the world out in the middle of nowhere would light up. And I'm sure, listen, Reflect Orbital, I get it, you guys came up with this idea to put mirrors in space. I would be shocked if the United States or another nation hasn't already tried this. Because it's kind of a no-brainer, right? I'm not knocking your patent or anything like that, but you probably have had tests of this type of technology. It's not rocket science. What's interesting, though, is it could go bad really quickly. Now that even if a government hasn't tried this yet, now that this application's out there, any government who had any sort of space program could do this. And imagine the type of warfare you could have using this technology. You could have a nuclear level effect with no fallout and really no fatalities. You could take any piece of land on the planet and turn it into a wasteland. If you had these mirrors on a particular area, let's say farmland, you'd leave the sun up for a month, it would never turn night in a particular area, everything there would wither and die. Plants need to sleep. It throws off animals' rhythm. It throws off human sleep patterns if it's constantly daylight. Imagine holding a city hostage with this. And if you did not have a space program, if you were a country and you did not have a space program and you didn't have an ally who had a space program, you lose. Not a shot is fired. The land will be usable to whoever comes in to take it. You're done. You're done. You could make an area always be daytime. If you did it far enough out in the middle of nowhere, if you're hitting like farmland in, say, northern China or something like that, it would take a while probably for the government to even know what was going on. Reports of every so often it's as bright as day there. I mean, obviously, if they went and checked, they would know, but it would be a weapon that would have, not only would it have no real human casualties to it, it could be sold that way. Case in point, when the United States went to go take down Noriega, we did this, Panama Canal, what was the other country that we went in? It was in Central America. We took out one of the leaders. But anyways, the point is that I remember reading about it in the newspaper when it was happening. I was a kid. They had huge floodlights outside of his compound. So it was always bright in his compound. He could never make it nighttime. And it messes with your sleep schedule. Simple thing. Imagine if you had a leader you wanted to depose, and he fled into his compound like we've seen so many times before. You just make it daytime. It's less of a logistical nightmare than hauling all of these lights out. It would be a show of force to the world. Look, we literally control the sun. We make this guy's house. I mean, this would be super effective for all sorts of people. David Koresh, the Branch Davidian compound. It's never nighttime. Something that simple would really, really mess with people. You break them. It's Cobra Commander level tech. And while I am not someone who says, listen, we have this brand new technology, it can provide these benefits, but it could also do this bad stuff, we shouldn't use it at all. I'm not the type of guy. I just find the story super intriguing. There are people who are saying they cannot let these be deployed. There are some really interesting arguments against this. There is a consortium of sleep experts, like sleep groups, the World Sleep Society, the European Sleep Research Society, Sleep Health Foundation, so on and so forth, the Australian Chronobiology Society. They wrote a letter to the FCC saying, don't let these mirrors go up into the sky. They said, quote, the alteration of light and dark is not a trivial background condition. It is one of the oldest organizing principles of life on Earth, unquote. I mean, that's true, isn't it? That's the Earth. I mean, societies are set up to be a day-night cycle. Animals evolved to exist on a day-night cycle. It's something we do and we don't even think about it. Businesses close at 11 p.m. because everyone's asleep. But imagine if you could take that away from a population center. Again, I understand everything Reflect Orbital, the construction business alone, the amount of energy you would save as in energy you don't have to use, as in gas you don't have to burn to create the electricity through the... I get it. It's an environmental net positive. But the things that could go wrong, again, if a nation put that up there and they could not be countered, not many nations have space programs. You have to be allied with someone who has a space program. So if we wanted to make it daylight on Houthi headquarters in Yemen, I mean, I know Houthis in Iran, and Iran's kind of linked with Russia and China at this point, but you see what I'm saying? If you had a country, Venezuela would probably be a perfect example. Well, they were linked to Russia and China as well. My point is that if you had a country that had no allies who had a space program, you could not shut this off. You could not fight against it. The power of the sun very gently just turned on. No photos of people burning in the streets. Because I looked that up. I looked it up when it set people on fire. No, it won't. No photos of parents carrying out their wounded children. None of that. You could win a war without firing a shot, just by breaking the spirit of its leader. Now, to be clear, Reflect Orbital is not on their website. That is not one of their selling points. But you could see how that would go. I found this story infinitely fascinating. I came across it maybe 2 weeks ago. I couldn't wait to tell you guys about it. I just had to type my notes up and do some extra research on it. Fascinating stuff, though. It never turns night. A lot of benefits, but a lot of downsides as well. We'll see if I'm sure the FCC will approve it. Because, why not? Fascinating stuff. Eric, I'm going to go ahead and toss you the oars to the Rabbit rowboat. We're going to leave behind Mongolia. That was just an example I came up with. I don't know if they've ever tested it before. I think they would have. I think they probably would have tested this in some way. Either us or Reflect Orbital. I'm sure a government has thought about putting mirrors in space before and seeing what it would do. It would look like a paranormal event. It would look like something that's just weird. And then it would go away and it would never happen again because it was just the test. And locals would go, remember that time it was daylight here for like all night once and then it went away and never came back? I'm sure people have tested it before. Eric, let's go ahead and row out of Mongolia. Why don't you take us all the way out to Tennessee? Ooh, splash. Ooh, splash. Ooh, splash. And as we're headed out there, I actually want to make a plea to you guys, because I know a lot of you guys listen to the show a lot. Some of you guys, this is your first episode, but I have to ask all of you guys for some money. I need some money. You guys got any money? You're like, how much? I was like, whatever you got in your pocket. Whatever you got in your pocket. Let's put it all in this pot. And I have this pot, this big money pot. I sold from a Leprechaun. What happened to Leprechaun's gold? Oh, I spent that on shower caps. But right now, don't focus on the Leprechaun gold. And I have a shiny gold shower cap. Go ahead and put some money into this pot. And you're putting your money in. And I'm like, all right, I still see there you have some credit cards in that other pocket. Here, listen, this pot also has Venmo. It's a smart pot. What's your Venmo? Eventually, you guys are putting money in the pot, and I'm going, okay, there we go. That's probably about $300, give or take, right? We got all the money in this pot. We're walking around Tennessee, and I go, hey, guys, you know what? Thanks for all this money. I walk into the shower cap shop. No, I'm just joking. We're walking down the street, and I go, there's our destination. And you're like, damn it. You're trying to reach and get your money back. It's like, no, stay away. It's my money now. We're walking into the house / business residence of one Max Kramer. Max Kramer, we've talked about a ton on this show. He is an entrepreneur. He's a homeless video game designer, but now he has a home, so now he's just a video game designer, but that's not as funny. He wants to rip off your flesh and wear it and invite himself into your home, pretend to be you, in hopes that you have children. We've done a ton of episodes on this guy. That's a quick overview. I'll put all the episodes in the show notes. I was doing Max Kramer month, but then I had to take a break. Well, guess what? We still got more Max Kramer to talk about. This is a very short story. This wasn't actually part of Max Kramer month originally. I just found this the other day. We walk into Max Kramer's shop. It's his house, really. But we walk in, and he's sitting there on the couch, and he goes, do you have the money? And I go, of course, my liege. Of course, your majesty. I've got your money. We have all become worshippers of Max. I put down the pot full of money, and he counts it out, and he goes, oh, yes, $300, perfect. That's when he hands us each a badge, and we look at it, and it says, co-owner of Max Kramer's marijuana dispensary. So apparently, I found this out the other day, Max Kramer, who started a million businesses over the years, whether it was hallucinogenic energy drinks, which was one of my favorites, honestly. He wanted to start a theme restaurant called Bingleberries. It's a steak restaurant / roller skating rink. Fascinating stuff. Well, at one point in time, pretty recently, in the past year or two, he posted on Indeed.com, the job search website, as well as he posted the same job listing on a website called Leafed Out, which is it's a cannabis peer-to-peer network. So basically, all of these legal weed dispensaries networking and looking for employees and stuff like that. So at one point, it doesn't exist anymore, which, I wish it did, because I can't say for sure I would have went into business with them, but part of me feels drawn to it. Part of me goes, man, I really wish that I would have known about this. I probably would have mailed him out $300. You're like, canceling the Patreon. You're like, not if you're going to waste it on Max Kramer. This was his setup. Let's jump to it. Max Kramer opened a weed dispensary in his house. It sounds like a sitcom already, right? You're sitting there just trying to watch television. Some guy's like, you got any ganja, man? You're like, yeah, sure. And you get up, you sell this guy a couple nugs, and then he's like, do you mind if I smoke? And he's just sitting on your couch. How are you going to get rid of the guy? He had a weed dispensary business in his house, and for the low price of $300 a month, you could become what he calls a co-owner. But he's very, very specific. He goes, you do not own a franchise business. This is not a franchise business. It may someday, he says. Someday it might be a franchise business. So if you give me $300 a month, you don't get your own separate franchise business. You don't then get to take my name, my very valuable name of Max Kramer, and start another weed business. No, you work out of my home. $300 a month you could work for him. It was listed as a cannabis store, and it also sold food and retail. Now, I've honestly always wondered, there must be some sort of law or ordinance against this. If I owned a weed dispensary, I would sell all of the best weed. And I'd sell some brown, I'd sell some dirt weed, for people who can't afford the good stuff. Because everyone should be high. Everyone should be high. I'm not saying I don't believe this now. If I owned a weed dispensary, though, I would believe that. I would sell to all different economic levels, is what I'm saying. If you didn't have enough money to get the bud, you could get the Bammer. But I'd also sell food. I would have a huge rack of Hostess donuts and Doritos chips and beef jerky and all that stuff. Because guess what? Little known fact, people who smoke weed love to eat trash. Not saying Doritos are trash. Doritos are pretty good, but you know what I mean. I would put my weed dispensary store not only right next to a Jack in the Box, I would become a franchise owner of that Jack in the Box and double dip. Because there's no way you can get stoned and not want to eat. And I don't understand. I know dispensaries have like edible drugs. I'm not talking about that. I'd sell those too. But I'm talking about like junk food. You tell me you wouldn't make hand over fist amounts of cash if they also sold, because you could even charge more, right? You could say, oh, that bag of chips is $7. Those Hostess donuts is $5. Well, I can get them for $1.99 down the street. Yeah, but you're not down the street, are you? You're here. You're here at Bud and Bammers. That's the name of my dispensary. Well, anyways, Max is on top of that. It's a food and a retail shop, which I can only imagine what he considers retail. Used batteries. Look at these. This is a retail shop. 50 cents each. You're a co-owner. You pay him $300 a month, but you're what he calls a hired co-owner. I don't understand what any of these terms mean. You pay money to become an employee. No, you pay money to become a co-owner, but you do have to work there. But he ensures you will work flexible hours. But then later on he says there's 8-hour shifts and you're on call. So at any point you could be sitting at home and you get a call from Max and he goes, hey, listen, I need you to work here for the next 8 hours. You're like, dude, it's 3 a.m. He's like, yeah, well, you're a co-owner and you have an 8-hour shift. And you also have to be in charge of coming up with your own marketing strategies. He's not going to do all the heavy lifting. He's had enough time trying to put together a sorority at his place of residence. You know how much marketing genius that takes? So anyways, you have to come up with your own marketing strategies. Because again, one thing we know about weed, it's very difficult to sell. People are like, nah, I'd rather do something else. I don't want drugs today. Notoriously hard to get people to smoke weed. You have to come up with your own marketing strategies. But you know, if you have $300, and that's kind of a guesstimate. He goes, I don't know how much it's going to cost. $300 a month sounds good. He's posting this all on leafedout.com. But anyways, leafed out. He says, this is like his sales pitch. I think he's changed his name because he refers to himself in this as Microwavio TM. Microwavio is some weird website I'm having a hard time keeping up with this guy. TM obviously means trademarked, but he says, quote, I, Microwavio TM himself, will train you how to operate my legalized cannabis dispensary, retail, and food store. No experience needed, no references needed. This guy can't complain when stuff goes south. No experience, no references. You have to be 21 or over. Age 21 and up, unquote. That's pretty much the qualifications. So straight out of prison for multiple cannabis dispensary robberies. Doesn't matter. No references, no experience needed. He does assure you, though, that if you want, your friends can come and hang out at the shop while you're working, and they can buy stuff as well. Friendly environment, right? Assuming that your friends are all sorority girls. Sure, he has no problem with that. So, and when they have the salary listing, you know, because this is like an official job website, it said salary, expected salary. He put $1,000 to $1,000. Because it depends on you, right? You're the co-owner. He's not paying you an hourly rate. Listen, man, Max Kramer, he's nuts, but there's a bit of genius in him. Like, that does make sense. Nobody did this, as far as I can tell. Nobody did this. I don't know how smart it is. But he's not hiring someone. You pay him to work at his business, and you have to sell. You have to get out and market this business. And who knows, maybe you're really good at marketing. Maybe you know a bunch of people who smoke, and they come to the shop. Just on commissions alone, you can make $1,000 a month. I mean, technically $700 because you paid $300 to work there. But if you just think you're going to show up and get an hourly wage and live off the Max Kramer teat, You're wrong. You only get $1 a month if you do that. Because you didn't sell anything. So, I mean, in the end, it makes sense, right? You're getting an employee that, it might be highly illegal, but I understand his logic. I'm not going to pay you if you don't sell stuff. It's up to you. It's up to you to sell it. I still think, but in many states, even commission-based jobs require a minimum wage, and that's why I'm saying you're not an employee, you're a co-owner. A co-owner would not get a minimum wage. Fascinating stuff. If any of you guys have $300 to burn and live in Tennessee, look them up. Look up Max Kramer. I still have more Max Kramer stuff. Like, that one just fell into my lap the other day. That wasn't part of Max Kramer month. I still got more Max Kramer stuff. I got at least 2 more stories. One more is involving another insane lawsuit he was involved in. But the last one, I think, will be one of those stories that really kind of makes us look at the saga of Max Kramer differently. And I don't mean that it's going to make us more sympathetic to him. There have been concerns in the city of Cookeville, Tennessee, where he lives. There's a lot of people talking online about Max and how they are becoming very worried about their own safety involving him. So we'll be saving that. So you're like, Jason, I live in Cookeville. I'm scared. Tell me that story. I will tell it some other time. We'll tell it next March. Max Kramer, March 2027. No, people are starting to post about him as at the very least, a pest, at the very most, a menace. We'll be covering that one shortly. Crazy stuff. We're not going to have time for the jump scare story, but I have something else I want to talk to you about. Another short paranormal story that, the more I think about it, it kind of makes me mad. A little bit. Makes me mad. And the target of my anger is the world of the paranormal. Anger may not be the right word, but I think you guys will know what I'm talking about. This is a very interesting story when you step back and look at it. Eric, let's go ahead and toss the keys to the world-famous Carpenter Copter. We are leaving behind Tennessee. We're saying goodbye to Max, but not for long. Why don't you fly us all the way out to a house in the suburbs? We're headed all the way out to this house in the suburbs. We're about to meet a young girl. We're going to go ahead and call her Mallory. We don't have a real name. She's around 6 years old when this happens. She was at home with her dad, and they were both in her bedroom. They're both in her bedroom. Her dad was on her bed reading a book, probably like reading a book to her, right? I don't think he was reading like The Great Gatsby silently as she was goofing off. But he's on her bed reading a book while she is goofing off. She is kind of walking around. She's a 6-year-old girl being kind of rambunctious. That might not be the right word. Definitely not listening to whatever book he's reading her or not reading her. She goes, I'm at home. I'm in my bedroom with my dad. He's reading a book. He's sitting on my bed. Mallory, is just kind of walking around. And then I realized I need something off the top of my dresser. I need something off the top of my dresser in my bedroom. This dresser, she said it's a very, very heavy dresser. I mean, for a 6-year-old, right? I'm sure like an adult could move it around pretty easily, but to a 6-year-old, it might be heavy for an adult as well. There's a lot of vague, we don't know what book he was reading. Was he reading it out loud? How heavy is the dresser? Lots of questions. Not necessarily important questions, but questions nonetheless. She goes, I had this dresser in my room, and the way that it was is it was very heavy, and it was very tall. Bad combination for a dresser for a little girl in her bedroom. But she needed something off the top shelf. So what she did is something that it sounds like she does regularly. She pulls out the bottom drawer of the dresser, and then stands on whatever clothes are in there so she can reach something off the top of the dresser. She's done this before. It's not a big deal. Her dad doesn't seem particularly alarmed that she's doing this. She pulls out the bottom dresser. She stands on it. She's reaching for something off the top when all of a sudden, this heavy, tall dresser begins to tip towards her. And this is going to crush her. And she realizes it too. Once the events are set into motion, once physics comes fully into play, she becomes very alarmed. she knows that she's about to have this giant thing crush her right in front of her dad. Not like it would be better if, I don't care if mom finds me as a pancake, but dad, oh no, I'm a daddy's girl. No, she stands up on the bottom drawer, the thing starts to tip, and she's watching this come towards her. Her short life is about to be over. But as the dresser begins to tip, as she realizes she's going to be crushed, as her dad looks up from his book to watch this horrific scene about to play out, he's not going to be able to stop this in time. He's about to watch his daughter get, at the very least, horribly injured by this thing, at most possibly killed. All of a sudden, Mallory is sitting next to her father on the bed, which is at least 5 or 6 feet away from where the dresser is. She goes, as the dresser is tipping and me and my father realize what is about to happen, I'm about to be crushed. The next thing Mallory knows is she's sitting next to her dad on the bed. The dresser is fully upright. The bottom drawer has not been pulled. And you go, wait, so is this like her imagination? Did she just imagine this? Was she so bored of The Great Gatsby? I get it, he's an alcoholic, he's a party boy. That she imagined this? No. You go, oh, so is this one of those quantum immortality stories? Which we've covered a ton of on this show. I'll put some in the show notes. Where someone's life is about to either end or drastically change for the worst. And then they are shuffled into a universe where that doesn't happen. We've covered that from car accidents. Mostly car accidents, actually, now that I think about it. We've covered tons of stories like that. Someone goes, I should have died, and then events rewound. The next thing I know, I was still alive. Is that what happened here? Possibly, but this story has a bit of a twist to it. Because when we cover quantum immortality stories, it is set up just like this. I was walking across the street, I saw a car, we did a couple like this. I was walking across the street, I saw a car coming, there was no way I can move out of the way in time. I realized I was dead. The next thing I know, I was standing on the sidewalk. I was standing on the sidewalk 3 or 4 feet away, and the car just drove by. I was moved from a reality where I was guaranteed to die into a reality where I wasn't even in danger. We've even covered stories where you'd have all the passengers in the car realize this as well. People driving in the car, a semi blows through a red light. The next thing they know, they're still sitting in the car. They're safe at the stop sign or the stoplight, and the semi blows through, but they've never been impacted. And everyone in the car is like, oh my God, did you just feel that? Did you just sense that? Did you just experience that? We've had stories too where people are driving in a car with a passenger and they will actually feel a sensation of air flying by them as time is reset. Or they both get a horrible, horrible feeling in their gut that they should have died just now, yet they watch time rewind or push them forward, one or the other, out of danger. Really, really weird stories we've covered. What's notable about this story is the dad saw the time reset as well. Because they talked about this. They talked about this with each other. What happened was Mallory's about to get crushed by the dresser. Next thing she knows, she's sitting next to her dad. And her dad looks over at her and goes, Mallory, what just happened? Mallory goes, I don't know. I was just about to get crushed by the dresser. The father goes, I know. I was watching the whole thing. I didn't want to lose my place in the book. I didn't have a bookmark. I didn't want to. I couldn't save you, honey. The father watched the dresser tip as well. The father watched the time jump, the immortality shift, the quantum shift. An observer whose life was not in danger shifted along with his daughter. Mallory says her and her father talked about it, and they still talk about it. They still talk about it because it was so puzzling to both of them. Neither of them could come up with any explanation for it. They both clearly saw this happening. She was about to be injured horribly. And the father was watching the whole thing play out. But they both shifted into a universe. If this is the answer to this thing, they both shifted into the universe where that didn't happen. She says we can never figure it out. She goes, we also still have the dresser. We still actually have the dresser, but we've decided to bolt it into the wall. So this wouldn't happen again. So here's the thing. This is that detail alone shows that multiple observers noticed this. The father bolted it into the wall because he saw it happen. He saw his little girl almost get killed. So he prevented that from ever happening to her or anyone else who may be fiddling around with that dresser. He took proactive measures. He bolted it into the wall. Because he watched it almost kill his daughter. And again, this wasn't a quick dodge. This wasn't like it fell over. Oh my God, Mallory, are you okay? Are you okay? Little kid crying. No. The dresser she had pulled out to step on was pushed in. She didn't roll out of the way. The timeline shifted. The timeline changed. She experienced it, and so did her father, who was just sitting in the room reading a book. This is what it's a really interesting story. I'm really racking my brain. I want to say we've either never covered a third party experiencing this out. We've covered a lot of stories with multiple passengers in a car experiencing this. We've covered stories where two cars were going to get in a collision and they don't. Like, they actually get in the collision and then time resets and they don't. And the two drivers of the two separate vehicles either exchange a look like, what was that? Or they actually get out of their cars and go, dude, what just happened? Like, both vehicles experienced the same thing, but that's the thing, both vehicles were going to collide. So it would make sense that they both experienced the same thing. The passengers in a car that shifted through reality until it found one where they were still alive. The fact that they all experienced the same thing makes sense, because they all would have died or all would have been horribly injured. There might, not only have we covered this a lot on the show, I've read a ton of these accounts as well. And I wonder, in the back of my mind, I think there might be one other story we've covered on this show where somebody did run across the street. A kid was running across the street. A car almost was going to hit them, was going to kill them. And then they shifted to the point where they're standing on the sidewalk, out of harm's way. I have a vague recollection that one of those stories, another child might have witnessed that as well, but I don't remember for sure. So that might be the case. But when I read this one, I thought that's very fascinating. The father wasn't going to be physically injured or physically killed in any way, shape, or form by this dresser falling down. Why does he remember the shift? It would have made more sense if the next thing Mallory knows, she's sitting on the side of the bed and she's freaked out and her dad's going, honey, what's the matter? Is this part of The Great Gatsby scary to you? Do you hate wild parties in the 1920s? No, the father shifted with her. A third party, an observer, shifted with her. He was in no physical danger. He was in great mental danger. Watching your daughter get crushed. But physical danger, he was in none. This is what I find, this is what I find kind of irritating about this story. I love it. You're like, Jason, did you want her to get crushed? You wanted a ghost story instead? One thing that is interesting about the paranormal is how selective it can be. Sabine told me once, and I don't have the details of the story, I can never look it up, but Sabine told me once there was this guy who did believe in life after death. Like most of us do, kind of like, oh, maybe it's there, maybe it's not. He wasn't like a super religious guy, but apparently, the way she told me the story, his wife ended up dying of cancer. She read this article. a while back in the newspaper. His wife died of cancer, or just died. Dressed her full of cancer, crushed her. And he never got the sense that she was still around. He never got the sense that her spirit was still out there because he loved her so much. Their love was so pure and full. And then she died and he never sensed her. He never got the feeling that she was still somewhere out there in the universe. He said, I don't believe in life after death anymore. I don't believe in that at all, because if my love could be so strong for someone and her love could be so strong for me, and then one day I just don't feel that sensation anymore, if she really was a spirit, if she really was existing after death, I should have felt her. Our love was so great, I should have felt her. And that's why I don't believe in life after death anymore, because how could something like that just vanish if there truly was an afterlife, that love? You know, I empathize with the dude. I do. I feel bad for him. I do believe in life after death, right? I mean, like this guy. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I understand where you're coming from. But it's funny because we cover so many stories where people experience that sensation that while they are gone from this world, a loved one, right? We've covered so many stories, and I read dozens of stories I never even cover on the show a day, dozens of stories that I don't cover, where people do feel that love after death. They do feel that presence after death. They feel that goodbye, that I'll be waiting for you, that I still love you. Our love is so grand, not even a physical death could end it. I read accounts like that all the time. But it didn't happen for that guy. It didn't happen for that guy who loved his wife so much and she loved him back, and then it just was snuffed out. We read accounts all the time that show the opposite. The paranormal did not select him for whatever reason. Maybe he wasn't in tune enough with the universe. Maybe he blocked it somehow. Or maybe she didn't show up. Maybe she didn't give him that energy back after she died. Who knows? But that was his experience, so he doesn't believe in the afterlife. The world of the paranormal does seem to be selective, especially stuff like this. How many times have we heard, or unfortunately may have experienced, a deep and tragic loss in our own life? Someone so close to us, so dear to us, die in some sort of random way, yet the quantum universe does not go into effect. Now, here's the thing. It probably does. That person you love so much may not have died. Actually, considering how vast and infinite the multiverse is, they didn't die more times than they actually died. But you don't get to be... This is what is crazy about the story. The person who died, the person who you saw tragically die, shifted into another universe where they're still alive, but you didn't. You're stuck in this universe where that person you love so much is dead. And it happens all the time. All the time. I remember a long time ago, I was reading a story about there was a wall in this garden. Horrible story, tragic story. There was like this wall in the garden. I think it was like a barbecue pit type wall. If I remember the details correctly, there were two little girls out in the backyard. I'll put the article in the show notes if you feel like having a bad day. It's terrible. If I remember correctly, there were two little girls in the backyard playing, and one of them bumped into this wall. It was either very old or not well constructed, or both. And this wall of brick, heavy, heavy wall of brick, crushed both of these girls and killed them in the backyard of this home. And one of the parents was out there, and not only did they see it happen, they heard it happen. They heard the sounds of these two little girls being crushed by a massive amount of bricks. And the kids died. I read a story. There was this Christmas time gathering, Christmas time like market type of festival. That's the word I'm looking for. This was in, I think, a Nordic country or possibly Germany. Don't remember where, but Put the article in the show notes. I save all these articles because I go, oh, maybe I'll talk about them sometime. And then, I'm just like, they're too horrible. So I'm talking about them now. There was this ice sculpture that, again, there was a structural flaw to it, and it broke, and, it's ice, it's heavy, and it was this big statue, and it crushed a kid right in the middle of the festival. Killed him on the spot. Hundreds of pounds of ice just broke, and it landed on top of this 4-year-old or 6-year-old or whatever. Killed him on the spot. Splattered him all over the ground. Now, while I do believe there's a possibility that all of those kids still live in an alternate universe, their consciousness shifted from this one to another one, those parents, they did not shift. They heard the sound, not to get too horrible, but they heard the sound of their own child gurgling. The inhuman noise that a person makes as they're crushed. It's a very, it sounds disgusting. When you crush a human, they don't sound human in those last moments, if they make any sound at all. Hearing your own child gurgle underneath 300 pounds of weight, and then you're trying to get it off of them. You're moving the bricks. You're rolling over the ice. And you see you're broken. Like, Jason, damn it, you just did a Max Kramer story. You're not supposed to be getting all depressed. Well, here's the thing. Those parents, the ice sculpture and the wall parents, to this day, they still mourn the loss of their children. They still remember that gurgling sound. They still remember the panic as they're trying to move this very heavy structure off of their child. And getting it out of the way and seeing their own flesh and blood broken and bloodied and squished. And they didn't shift. They watched it happen. And they held those little bodies until the paramedics came. Until the paramedics showed up. And they sat next to him in the hospital. And then they stood next to their grave. It's interesting, because that's what this father was about to experience. He was going to spend the rest of his life thinking, if only I was faster. If only I was paying more attention. If only I had gotten up when my daughter needed something. If I had got up off the bed and got it for her. If only we didn't have that dresser in her room in the first place. If only if I had bolted it into the wall beforehand. If only, if only, if only. As he's standing next to his daughter, comatose in a hospital bed. But this father doesn't have to experience any of that, thankfully. This father has a weird and unique story he can share with his daughter, one that'll always puzzle him. What happened that day? How did I see my daughter about to get crushed and then all of a sudden she was fine sitting next to me? Yet every single day, parents endure tragedies involving their children all around the world. Tragedies that play out. Tragedies that have a terrible ending. Tragedies that have a parent to this day asking, why? It's a fascinating story. I love the idea of quantum immortality. But I always think about that, right? Sure, I survive in this timeline, but in another timeline, I died. And I'm fine in this timeline, but in the other timeline, my parents still miss me. And my friends still miss me. The world went on, yet I was no longer in it. I can think about that. I can think about, wow, that happened. I'm sorry for you guys, and I owed each of you a ton of money. And I escaped to this universe. Sure, I survived. Sure, all of those stories where people get in the car accident, and the car accident never happens, and they go, wow, that was weird. Each one of those stories leaves behind a world mourning their loss. But in this story, the father and the daughter shifted over at the same time. There was no dad mourning the loss because he came with her. And then you think about all the times that parents have to see these horrible things happen to their kids and they're stuck in that world. They don't shift with them to one where the child didn't die. Fascinating story, and I think it is fascinating. Why is the world of the paranormal so selective? Because it does seem to be that way. We can come up with a ton of stories, ton of theories, but at the end of the day, we don't know. All we know is that it does seem to be selective. We know that. We just don't know why. Why do sometimes miracles happen and sometimes parents say goodbye to their children one last time as they watch the coffin lid? You're like, damn it, Jason, come on, man. The tonal whiplash of this show is insane. You're like, I'll tell you this, the jump scare story wasn't even close to being this depressing. It just took longer. We'll do that one probably next week. It's a fun one. It involves kids and nobody horribly dies. Crazy stuff, though. Why is it so selective? We know that it is. We just don't know why. I didn't mean to end on such a dour note, but I did. I mean, technically, I could just edit all this out, but I think you can tell by the sound of my voice. I'm recording this like at 3 a.m. So sorry about that. But and also sorry about making you sad. I probably could do better at the tonal whiplash. Yet after, 7 years, I still haven't figured that part out. deadrabbitradio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at facebook.com/deadrabbitradio. TikTok is @deadrabbitradio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.